opening day of the 2025 Coachella Valley Invitational welcomes you to the historic Empire Polo Grounds in Indio, California. It's the new-look Chicago Fire and the anticipated MLS return for Greg Berhalter, bringing buzz to the Windy City, facing last year's top seed in the Western Conference and the reigning U.S. Open Cup champions, Los Angeles Football Club. Hello, everybody. I'm Jonah Malkin, delighted to be with you for the fourth preseason tune-up of the day and the fourth year of this tremendous event. LAFC and Chicago Fire, unfamiliar with one another in recent memory. A 0-0 draw in May of 2019 was their last encounter, but today provides a preview of their upcoming regular season showdown that will commence on August 9th at Soldier Field. Should be a tremendous matchup, a lot of excitement, whether you're tuning in across your local Fox station or across social media. We appreciate you being here and tuning in on this beautiful Wednesday here in the Coachella Valley. And a lot of the usual starters for LAFC, Hugo Lloris and Olivier Giroud. Two legends with the French national teams are starting in their kits. Traditional home black with gold trim. Meanwhile, Chicago getting away from the blistering cold temperatures in the Windy City right now. Getting a chance to play a little preseason soccer here on the West Coast. Some notable absences for them in the starting lineup. No Hugo Kuipers, Chris Mueller, Marin Haile Selassie, and Jack Elliott. So they're turning to some academy players, turning to some trialists here today, trying to make their case to make the roster. A lot of fun, fans continuing to trickle in. This event continues to expand every single year now in its fourth edition. More local vendors, more fans coming in across the country. This LAFC team coming off a really good regular season, #1 record in the Western Conference. By their standards, they wanted to win more trophies, but they did claim their first U.S. Open Cup title. The fourth trophy since their incredible man, Steve Cherundolo, the head coach, took over in 2022. Meanwhile, this is the first chance to take a look at how Chicago operates under Greg Berhalter as they swing it across to Amari Glasgow. The Ghanaian midfielder just signed an MLS first-team deal after spending the past 3 seasons with their Chicago Fire 2 squad just a couple months ago. So again, some newer faces along the front line for Chicago Fire. Big point of emphasis for Coach Berhalter when he took over. He stated reinforcing the back line has been a priority for them during the transfer window. They went out again, signed Jack Elliott, who is not suiting up today as a free agent. They still retain Carlos Turan in the starting lineup. Leo Barros, Jonathan Dean, a 27-year-old entering his 3rd season with the club. Meanwhile, as I mentioned, a lot of the usual suspects for LAFC. 19 wins, 8 draws, 7 losses last year. Took down Vancouver in the first round of the MLS Cup before falling to the Seattle Sounders. They had beaten in 10 previous matchups. Denny Bouanga, 2 consecutive seasons scoring 20 goals. MVP finalist. He has put together quite the resume since he has joined LAFC. In fact, it was interesting talking with Coach Cherundolo about Bouanga. I said, how can he continue to get better? Because the difference between being good, great, and legendary is minuscule. can he continue to take that next step? And he's talked about continuing to challenge him to be even better in combination play. Not being the end product of LAFC attacks, but being the initiator. He's so good out in space and in pursuing the ball, but can he help create a little bit more to set up his teammates? That's the area coming into this season he's trying to improve upon. As Gutierrez is flattened, no whistle. Lay down up ahead for Barlow. And a chance for Chicago. Glasgow getting it back, trying to slip his way through outside of the 18. Back for Kellen Acosta, the seasoned veteran. 29 years of age. Just his second year with the club. First look at number 11, Philip Zinkernagel for Chicago, by the way. There's the speed of Bouanga, and he earns his side the first free kick and set piece for LAFC. Again, Bouanga has a chance to become not only the first player in league history to amass 3 20-goal seasons, but the first to do it in 3 consecutive seasons. Along the back line, Eddie Segura. A Colombian, 28 years of age. Just had a birthday on February 2nd. Happy birthday to him. Trying to overload the right side, knocked out of bounds for a throw-in. Again, familiarity with this LAFC team. A lot of the usual starters. David Martinez, what a special young talent he is. Just 18 years of age. Really came alive in the final 7 games of the season, scoring 4 goals and propelling his team, especially down the stretch. Bouanga being defended beautifully by Barros. Able to navigate through. Giroux got a left foot on it. Couldn't really test, though. Jeff Gall getting the start, replacing Chris Brady, who was the team's defensive player of the year last season. There's Tillman with a burst. They do it well to find the feet of Bouanga. Taken on Barroso. Bouanga bursting, and it's deflected out of bounds for a corner kick. And of course, the 3-2-5-2 contingent in attendance today. One of the most boisterous and passionate fan bases you have in the MLS. Traveling for every single home and road game to support this team. They've carved off a special section at BMO Stadium. Outswinger, it slips through and held onto by Jeff Gall. Chicago native, arrived with the club after a 6-year stint in Sweden. Currently occupying one of the supplemental roster spots, making his case to join the 21-man roster. And that's part of why Coach Berhalter decided not to suit some of the usual starters, giving him a chance to get kind of an impartial look at some of the accessory parts, seeing what he has to work with. And for the Chicago team, obviously Frank Klopas was a legendary fixture with the club. Took over on an interim basis last season, 2004 Ring of Fire inductee. And he plugged the hole for this organization last year, but they really needed a CEO. They needed someone that could overhaul this organization, provide and restore structure, and perhaps more importantly, rejuvenate a fan base that's just been starving for success. They're hoping this can be the year where they improve upon their last place finish in the Eastern Conference. Jonathan Dean, the powerful lefty. cut down Segura. Overthrew it, intended for Glasgow. So hard to penetrate through that back line. All those fullbacks for LAFC, they do such a good job. One of the best teams in the MLS since Coach Gerundolo took over in time of possession. Just dictating pace. Strong tackle from Gutierrez. One of 6 Chicago natives. Palencia is able to poke it free for Martinez. And fired it up ahead. Bouanga wasn't quite in sync. Talk about a potent offense with Giroux and Bouanga. A little dangerous. Aaron giveaway. David Martinez lays it down. There's Bouanga. Misfires. Couldn't bend it in the lower third, but a great chance early on for LAFC. And you can see the pressure. They're so good at repressing and not allowing back lines to feel comfortable and build out of the back. It's a trademark of Coach Gerundolo. Every pass hotly contested right now in the defensive half. As Palencia knocks it off of Chicago. Giroux appealing for a whistle, doesn't earn it. Slipping through is Tillman, older brother of Malik Tillman, who of course is on the U.S. men's national team. Bouanga steering his way in a dangerous spot right now, and it hits off the chest of Gall, and this will result in the second corner for LAFC. Just in its 8th season as Giroux is trying to slip his foot back into his cleat. 38 years of age, France's all-time leading goal scorer. Up through the short corner. Martinez recycles it back in, drifting to the back post. Headed away. Brought down by Mark Delgado, and high pointed easily. Not going to test Jeff Gall too much. 3rd season with the club, though he hasn't officially played in any MLS games. He's been primarily utilized with the MLS Next Pro squad. Can squeeze it to Gutierrez, and again, a giveaway early on. Floated up ahead. Is Bouanga onside? He is, but charging off the line is Gall. Couldn't quite take advantage on the counter. And Dean cut down, but a late whistle awarded to Chicago. 12 starts, 24 appearances last year for the Macon, Georgia product. Gutierrez can't slice his way through. Kellen Acosta, nice turn to escape the pressure, undercut by Delgado. First look for number 42, Diego Conix. The defender being brought up just in the nick of time for this showcase. haven't been able to utilize the edges very much, orchestrating most of these passes in the middle of the pitch. Again, stabbing tackle from Martinez, and it results in the first corner kick for the Fire. They struggled mightily to score in the MLS last season, bottom 6 in goals scored, just 40 on the year. Allowed the 7th most goals. Meanwhile, LAFC was one of the strongest in that department. Zinkernagel whips it in, and Giroux playing protector. "15 minutes into the first half on a pristine Wednesday here in the Coachella Valley. Not a single cloud in the sky. Absolutely perfect weather conditions. Nice little give and go to Orahel. It's floated inside the 6 and knocked away. Brought down Giroux. Tillman looking at the speed of Martinez. Knocked away. Gall sprinted off the line. They had a chance. Small opening for David Martinez. Could not create a little bit of separation. And now Chicago on the other end tries to float it up ahead. There's Barlow on side. An excellent recover. Segura with the denial, but it would have been going the other way anyhow. Igor Jesus, the Brazilian, recently earned a call-up to the Brazilian U20 national team. Able to break lines effectively. LAFC on the move again. It's the versatility Ryan Halling said, the former UCLA Bruin, can fly up those channels. Designated defender, but again, the way that Coach Cherundolo likes to operate with his defensive wingers. They not only sink back, but also fly up, helping those attacks from time to time. And it was interesting, I asked him about his expectations for the group and even for himself personally. When he took over, did he expect the immediate success that he achieved? And he said obviously winning in year 1 was always the goal, but it was unrealistic to assume or expect to claim 2 trophies. Now, of course, that's the goal every single year. As it's fluttered up ahead, Bouanga so strong. Taking on Barros, laying it back. Martinez a little too heavy on the touch. Now Tillman gives it a go and blasts it over the goal. As I said, the expectation is to win multiple trophies every single year, and there were question marks surrounding this club. Could they break through last year after coming up ever so close? Reached the final of the League's Cup, lost to the Columbus Crew. And then when the U.S. Open Cup came around, they got a chance to host it at BMO Stadium against Kansas City. Questions continue to loom. Could they get it done? Could they break through? And they finally did in that specific tournament. 6 total trophies in the case with Coach Cherundolo. This man has to be a big part of it. David Martinez, won back nicely by Gutierrez. But Chicago Fire has struggled to maintain possession for much of this first half. Flicked out wide. Palencia can't send it across. Corner awarded to LAFC. Third corner kick, Bowanga out swinging. Sails a little bit too high for Hollingshead. Tracked down though by Mark Delgado, a Glendora native. Grew up in SoCal, part of the Chivas USA Youth Academy. 14th season in the MLS. Brings a lot of veteran leadership and experience in that midfield. Segura. Palencia. Chipped forward. Just cushioned down nicely. Martinez, little two-man action with Hollingshead. Martinez swings it, and Giroux stayed onside. Floats out wide. Bowanga. Slide tackle, and another corner. For soccer fans, though, especially in Los Angeles, this is going to be a fireworks type of season. LA Galaxy won the MLS Cup, so that's going to kind of breed a new rivalry that already existed as it just skims off the head of Hollingshead. Of course, he talked to both fan bases, and they each despise the other, but there is mutual respect there, and it makes for fun upcoming regular season matches between the two clubs. In particular, in recent memory, it's been LAFC kind of dominating the Southern California accolades and winning most of the trophies, but LA Galaxy trying to insert themselves into the equation. You just look at this entire league with the expansion team, San Diego FC, beginning in 2025. That could spark a new rivalry. San Jose and the Earthquakes locking in Bruce Arena, the Hall of Fame coach, to steady the ship, so the entire Western Conference continues to get stiffer. But it makes for some exciting MLS soccer matches this year, League Cup matches, and you name it. Nice little combination there, flicked away. And a free kick awarded to Chicago. San Jose was the only team that finished with a worse record than they did in the Western Conference. Just 6 wins as opposed to 7 for the Fire. But this new regime with Coach Berhalter providing some renewed optimism and excitement. Obviously took a brief hiatus after leading the United States men's national team for 6 years. It feels like a huge burden has kind of been lifted off his shoulders. Obviously, there are still expectations to turn Chicago around, but it pales in comparison to what the expectations were of the United States men's national team and what they were expected to do in the most recent 2022 World Cup. Still advanced to the knockout round, losing in the round of 16. That wasn't good enough. The way that they fared, they ousted Berhalter. Took some time to recuperate, and now has returned to the MLS. Of course, he formerly led the Columbus Crew to an MLS Cup title for taking the national team gig. find a way to advance it past the midline, though. They've been passing it a lot out of the back, but not really pressurizing this LAFC seasoned back line. Could something be brewing here with Glasgow? Flick from Barlow. Find the feet of Gutierrez. Glasgow weaving through, and a whistle. First offsides flag goes up in this contest. Already 26 minutes in. Game number 4 of a 5-game slate. We're at the Coachella Valley Invitational, day number 1 on field number 1. Palencia is still down. Jonathan Dean kind of flattened him from behind. Good show of sportsmanship, though, helping him up. Palencia, Spaniard, 28 years of age, joined the roster a couple of years ago after playing in the French Tier 2 league. Let's give and go. And Delgado tripped from behind. It's still surreal to see Hugo Lloris here in Los Angeles. One of the most decorated goalkeepers in the world. Captained the French national team to win the 2018 World Cup. He's France's most capped player. Of course, formerly with the Tottenham Spurs. Second year with LAFC. Connings. Ref says play on. Giroux sending it forward. Brought down. Tillman lays it, trying to target Bouanga, streaking down the middle. Interrupted beautifully. Chance in transition for Chicago. They can operate a little bit more quickly here. Rahel. That hit the arm of Giroux. Rahel just gifted it back to LAFC a little hastily as Gutierrez holds on. And a free kick to LAFC. Segura wanted to send Palencia deep. Keeps it more on the intermediate side. Palencia, long ball laid down. Is Giroux onside? He is. Peels back around. Can't flick it. Looking for the through ball to Palencia. Not a full clearance, though, by Chicago. David Martinez. Bouanga. Costa spins away. And he's still down for LAFC, so advantage plays on for Glasgow. Strong carry, gets to that left foot, and Segura is just able to knock it out of bounds for a corner. That was dangerously position there. That is something that Coach Berhalter has stressed, is trying to take advantage of transition opportunities with defenses unset, formations unset, trying to apply as much pressure as they can when they have a numbers advantage. In swinging, right into the grasp of Lloris. Rolls it out for Tillman. Bouanga streaking. Hasn't flanked. There goes Bouanga. Bouanga cutting it back and just overshot it. His eyes got bigger. The fans could sense it. Golden opportunity. Just couldn't keep it on frame. And again, two different formations that are quite telling. You see LAFC rocking 4-3-3. They've got so much confidence in their back line, playing and building out of the back line. Meanwhile, Chicago 4-5-1 formation, heavy in the middle. They're less concerned about their offensive attack, more about stringing together consecutive passes and holding on to possession, though those haven't been characteristics through the first 32 minutes and change. Barros comes back to get it. Orahel. Floated forward, stepping in Palencia. Earns it back beautifully. So many promising players that perhaps we'll see in the second half. Lorenzo Della Valle could be making a return. Viewed as the protege of Giorgio Chiellini, former Italian great. Kind of finished his career with LAFC, took on a mentorship role. Oh, that's wonderful control. Martinez with open real estate. Martinez sails it way too far. And again, every single shot is just feet over the top bar. Not really testing Jeff Gall. Orahel able to shed himself of Bouanga. Long strides pushing forward, Barros. Orahel. Reset to get the numbers advantage. Gutierrez flashing. They find him at the top of the circle. Glasgow. There was a little bit more patience for Chicago. We didn't see that a whole lot prior. Glasgow, of course, just awarded the CONCACAF Nations League Youth Player of the Tournament, Young Player of the Tournament honors as well. He's recognized as the top scorer, making him the first Guyanese player to win the award. Was also the youngest player in competition history to earn the honor at just 20 years of age. Captain Aaron Long. Crossed in, easily handled by Gall. 77 degrees here in the Coachella Valley. See if there are any stoppages for hydration breaks. That was something that we saw enforced last year. Doesn't appear to be the case here in 2025. Again, for a lot of these teams, it's less about tactical harmony and more about fitness level. Because they step, especially LAFC, they step right onto the treadmill right when the season starts. CONCACAF Champions Cup immediately. There's no time to waste and to build up strength. Kelvin Acosta, number 23, at a Plano Tuscus in to replace Chris Mueller, not suiting up today. Starting midfielder out of Schaumburg, Illinois. Glasgow. Intercepted. Here comes Boanga. Carlos Turan tasked with trying to defend him. That's a tough task for him. But he does well at the inside position. It's awarded back to Chicago. Again, that's an isolation situation going up against the MLS Golden Boot winner in 2023. 20 goals, 11 assists, a career high for Denny. Half turn, snuffed out. Zinkernagel could not escape the feet. Oh, look at the passing right now from LAFC. Lay down up ahead. Martinez is onside, and the youngster Martinez cannot slip it through. Gall just got enough of it. And the score stays at 0. David Martinez, 3 of his 4 goals last year came in the final 7 games of the season. Is so instinctually gifted. Coach Cherundolo absolutely raves about his instincts, his spacing, timing, body position, all sparked from that great instinctual understanding of where he has to be as that sizzled across and scrapes the head of Hollingshead. Aaron giveaway. Prominent position. Palencia fires it across. Yanked down. That's going to get called every time if you're Igor Jesus. First year competing with the club, acquired from the Portuguese club Estrela. Hard push for Gutierrez. Barros. Now Acosta trying to overload that right side. Forced to play it back. And they've had a couple of openings to potentially squeeze it. Instead, fired up ahead. That searching ball for Martinez. Inside 5 minutes to go in the first half. Most of the shot attempts have been attempted by LAFC, but they haven't kept him on target. Gutierrez with the flick. That could be potentially something, but not against that legendary goalkeeper. And again, we'll see if he even gets out onto the pitch in the second half. Could be a first 45, and then a shift. We saw that in their last friendly when they took on the Portland Timbers. Technically, they prevailed 1-0, but we saw completely different back lines and front lines. In fact, it was an entirely new 11 out on the pitch for Coach Cherundolo and his squad in the second half. Nice box out and turn. Tom Barlow back in, by the way, for Chicago. Former Wisconsin Badger. In fact, there are 3 Badgers on this Chicago team with Barlow, Dean Boltz, who we haven't seen. Big Ten freshman of the year with the Badgers this past fall, and Chris Mueller, who was not playing, didn't travel with the team. Segura targeting Boanga, and here could be the chance in transition now for Chicago. And of course, right when I say that one back, here's Boanga taking on the youngster Burros. Back to help and retreat it. Strong tackle Gutierrez. Ref says play on. Tillman trying to turn the corner. And physicality being allowed here in the first 45. Final 90 ticks to go here in the first half. Game number 4 of a 5-game slate. Just day 1 of the 2025 Coachella Valley Invitational. LAFC, reigning #1 seed in the Western Conference, U.S. Open Cup champions. Former 2022 MLS Cup champions. And Supporters Shield winner as well. Coach Cherundolo, first time the head coach has won both the MLS Cup and the Supporters Shield in his first year in charge. As with 35 seconds, we see one of the players, that's Tillman, down, being looked at by the training staff. So they will more than likely add some stoppage. And now some words being exchanged. Hugo Lloris having a word with the referee. Displeased about something that was said to him. Costa trying to calm him down. Good to see some chippiness here in the preseason. As we'll see how much stoppage time the refs add to this first half. Again, we were about to conclude it. The 3-2-5-2 making their feelings known. Hydration break in the 45th minute. Yes, a bit peculiar, but obviously safety is paramount with the heat. Again, there's not an inch of shade outside of if you're squatted underneath the bleachers, but with that seat, you can't see the field. So we'll see how much time they add for stoppage. Rahel, they might give them one more possession here. See if they can create some magic. And set piece in the final third right now for Chicago, so perhaps adding a little bit of drama to the end of the first half. Didn't see much action. Brian Gutierrez, a Chicago native. 2 straight seasons, playing over 2,300 minutes. He's played his entire MLS career with this one club. One more chance, Bouanga. Gallivanting, long strides, Bouanga centered in. Martinez has the shot turned away. Well, you blink for 1 second, and that was another perhaps opportunity, but the first half comes to a close, 0-0 after 45 in Game 4 on day number 1 of the Coachella Valley Invitational. Halftime here in Indio. More coverage when we return. Back here, field number 1 here at the Coachella Valley Invitational, 0-0 at the break. And there were some early chances for LAFC. They created some opportunities with Denny Bouanga and the rest of the crew, but they couldn't keep them on frame. They dominated possession through the first 45, but again struggled to be clinical in the final third when they needed to be. There was a great chance for a moment, but Jeff Gall, the starting goalkeeper for Chicago, really wasn't tested that much in the first 45. And we'll try to get you some of those highlights on the other side of the break. More coverage here to come. Back in a moment. Beautiful Wednesday here in Indio. Again, just game number 4 of a 5-game slate on day number 1 of the 2025 Coachella Valley Invitational. A couple of other matches took place prior to this one. St. Louis City and Real Salt Lake got going early at 10 a.m. LA Galaxy and Austin FC, of course, the reigning MLS Cup champions, played in game number 2. The Portland Timbers and San Jose Earthquakes. We talked about it, the return of Bruce Arena to the MLS. Hall of Fame coach, adding some more buzz and excitement to the Western Conference. Of course, Chicago and LAFC taking place right now at halftime. And coming up later today at 3 o'clock, New York City FC and Sporting Kansas City. Of course, Sporting Kansas City, they're being featured at 3 o'clock. They took on LAFC in the U.S. Open Cup final. LAFC prevailed, earning their first trophy of 2024 at their expense. And even coming up, we'll have a couple days of a break. Day 2 takes place on February 8th, and the final on Sunday, February 9th, before we kind of switch to the following week. We'll step aside. More coverage to come here at the Coachella Valley Invitational. A look at the first half highlights here between LAFC and Chicago Fire. And for the most part, it was dominated by the local side, applying a lot of shots, not a ton on frame, although that was certainly one of them for Denny Bawanga. He was improving on that initiation we saw towards especially the end of the first half, applying a little bit of pressure. David Martinez, the youngster, was very active in the first half. Tillman couldn't keep it down, though. They tried to settle in towards the end. Giroux did find a head, and there was Ryan Hollingshead, the versatile left back. And this was probably the best chance for David Martinez, one-on-one situation with Gall, and could not slip it through his legs. Clutch parry from the goalkeeper out of Chicago, Illinois. One more break. Second half is coming up next. And that was just a little tease. We didn't really step aside, just bought ourselves a couple of seconds onto the second half. Chicago Fire and LAFC, glad to have you with us from wherever you're tuning in, whether it's your local Los Angeles and Chicago Fox station or across our social media platforms on YouTube for both of these respective teams. Day one of the Coachella Valley Invitational, just some preseason action. Of course, both these teams open up the regular season in the MLS on February 22nd. Chicago opens up on the road against the Columbus Crew at Lower.com Field. And LAFC has a couple tune-ups even before the MLS regular season begins because of their success in the Leagues Cup, the U.S. Open. That one caroms fortuitously back onto the foot of Boanga. They play a friendly versus Club America, the top-tier Mexican soccer league, Liga MX, on February 11th. And then a big-time matchup against Colorado in the CONCACAF Champions Cup on the 18th. Before taking on Minnesota United to open up their MLS regular season on the 22nd. But the dates to earmark for LAFC, really the two regular season matches against the Seattle Sounders, getting a chance to rekindle the clubs' respectful animosity for one another. March 8th in Seattle, May 14th in LA. That'll be an exciting affair. Then, of course, these two teams will spar on August 9th at Soldier Field, the first time that they will officially compete against one another since 2019. No changes really in the Suns' direction. We'll see if that impacts some of the defensive backs here protecting LAFC, having the Sun to their backs in the second half. Chicago playing into it. And a couple of changes, of course. This is what we expected to see. Number 36, Justin Reynolds. The back line revamped for Chicago. Omar Gonzalez, a guest player with the team. Number 34, he trained with the club in Chicago, was invited to play with them in this tournament. Some of the academy players as well suited up for the men in red. As of right now, it looks like Coach Cherundolo is sticking with his original 11. Again, what makes this tournament so special and unique is just how close you get to be to the action. Yes, there are some thin white picket fences providing the barrier. However, you feel like you're right on top of the action. They do such a good job of promoting this event, of continuing to grow it. National Women's Soccer League is going to be arriving in a few weeks as well to partake in the festivities. It's the largest professional soccer preseason event in North America. This does a great job in promoting the game, especially in the United States, as that's an excellent cutback from Glasgow. Or a hell. Peels back, laid down for Justin Reynolds. Tillman trying to protect him. There's Glasgow, an excellent first touch. And Tillman with the recovery, able to break it up. 3-2-5-2 remaining, vocal here as they always do. Trying to spur on their local squad. They've been operating directly and primarily on this right flank. Haven't been able to switch the field over to the left side, overloading it, but there's an excellent combination. Justin Reynolds motors forward, laid back. Little touch from Osorio, who just entered into the second half. Orahel sends one across. Vitaly Hulyat, number 68, at Roselle, Illinois, part of the Chicago Fire Academy, getting the starting nod in this second half. They brought along a couple of academy players, Patrick Lose and Vitaly Hulyat, two academy players. The two Chicago Fire 2 players, Harold Osorio and Sam Williams. Osorio getting the nod thus far, and as I mentioned, Omar Gonzalez, one of the trialists. Dean Boltz also making an appearance. Palatine, Illinois. Former Wisconsin Badger, Big Ten Freshman of the Year, scored 10 goals as an electric forward. Jesus. Saucy turn, Martinez. Play called back, but a set piece, at least it appeared to be momentarily, for Aaron Long and LAFC. Nice challenge by Williams, flicked up ahead. Glasgow's already showing off the speed, able to track it down. Sizzles one across. And handled by Larice, pardon. And it was interesting because when I chatted with Coach Cherundolo yesterday, I asked him about the Cherundolo standard. That's something that's thrown around so often in and around the club. The excellence that they've displayed year in and year out in the first 3 seasons. And I asked him, how do you characterize it? What do you describe as the Cherundolo standard? And he said, well, it's about establishing a growing culture of not being complacent, trying to improve, and especially improving through wins. He always feels like players are willing to hear more constructive criticism in wins than in losses. They're a lot more attentive in an ironic way. That's not fully clear. Dangerous for Giroux. Couldn't high point it. But he always feels like whether you win or lose, there's something that can be better. And he has set such a high expectation standard of these players, and they tend to respond. And that's something that Coach Berhalter is trying to establish on his end now that he's the CEO in the Windy City. Both him, it's not just a standard, but it's a confidence. Breathing new confidence into these players, into believing that last year and the last several seasons were flukes. Bouanga on the edge of the box. Bouanga drives it through and cannot bend it in, but an excellent effort from number 99. Gutman can't cushion it down. Palencia Now David Martinez. So slippery out in the open field. A good challenge. Helyet. It was an ambitious bicycle defense attempt that time for Chicago. Ryan Hollingshead. Aaron Long, the captain, managed to re-sign him this past offseason. That was a huge relief for this club. They were ecstatic when he decided to return because he had options to potentially leave coming off a phenomenal 2024 campaign. That's a savvy turn by Bolts. Bolts puts it on frame for the first time, and Lloris has to stay alert. And that's what he can do. Selected 3rd overall this past MLS Super Draft, and immediately having an impact on one of his first 2 touches. El Salvadorian Harold Osorio. Again, one of the Chicago Fire 2 players. So we're 11 minutes into this second half. Still level. Glasgow. Not biting on it by Hollingshead. Defended it perfectly. Was not fooled at all, but can't fully clear it. Osorio in the center. Has a chance, and Lloris diving parry. Rebound pushed aside. And finally, we're seeing Chicago come to life here in the second half offensively. Tillman out in space. And just too heavy on the touch for Bouanga. Two-man game combination with Gutman, former Indiana Hoosier in the Big Ten, so some chemistry there with Chris Mueller once he returns. Not to mention Tom Barlow. And now potential opportunity snuffed out in the nick of time there. Gonzalez. Special return home, though, for Andrew Gutman. Hinsdale, Illinois, spent 5 of the last 6 seasons kind of sojourning at different locations. Finally made his way back to the Windy City last year, and so excited to return back to his hometown to play in front of friends and family. Again, Hinsdale is just 20 miles from Chicago. He dreamt of being a pro football player for his hometown since he was a youngster. Played for their academy, and eventually made his way back. And it was interesting because he said something so fascinating about all the trades and the transactions that he's been a part of. He thought that it would, to most people, affect them, but he viewed it as a positive and had a really healthy attitude towards it, saying, quote, "Teams are willing to give up assets to bring you in. That's something to me that gives me a lot of pride, that I'm good enough that teams want to do that." And it is such a healthy perspective to maintain, because you can get down on yourself so quickly when you view it as a slight, and instead he's embraced the challenge and relishes the chance to perform for his favorite club. They've looked a lot sharper here in the second half, earning themselves a corner kick 15 minutes in. In swinger, Lloris just punches it up. Not fully cleared. Applying the airbag to bring it down was Glasgow. Again, just a giveaway in the attacking third for Chicago. That's some of the rawness of Omari Glasgow. Made 3 appearances for the Chicago Fire first team. In fact, he was the first Chicago Fire 2 player to feature in the first team in the MLS regular season to see some action last year. Good step through from Gutman. Headed down. Williams played, tracked down, Bolts in the corner. Bolt sizzles one through. Segura right there defensively. They're finally starting to utilize that opposite flank. Gonzalez, now Reynolds. Tillman shading him. They bring 2. Hollingshead tripped up from behind, and it's going back to LAFC. It's interesting, one of the things that they've been working on as a team is being able to read signals using these preseason games to learn behaviors and signal patterns from the sideline, allowing players to be able to discern those and understand it, giving them notes. That way they can play within multiple formations, not always one set formation, but being a nimble and adaptable squad. Coach Cherundolo always feels like that's one of the most important things to establish, more than the technical and tactical skills. Long ball, look at the speed. Jeremy Abobasi. Abobasi gets behind and earns a penalty for LAFC. They finally connect on the long ball. And they're 12 yards away from claiming the first breakthrough. Jeremy Abobasi just checked in, 9th season in the MLS, somehow snuck behind. Dangerous challenge. And Denny Bouanga, just the man leading scorer on this LAFC team. $20 goals in back-to-back seasons. Looking for his first goal in preseason action. And Bouanga slots it in. LAFC with an early 1-0 lead. An auspicious start for the 30-year-old. Over 70 games played with this club, 64 starts, 4th season here in Los Angeles. He's been an absolutely vital fixture and core piece of this team, elevating the status of LAFC, elevating the MLS. We always talk about some of the arguably more notable names. Lionel Messi coming over, of course, preceding him, David Beckham and Gareth Bale, and the list goes on and on of tremendous European players. He began his career in Europe as well. The fleet-footed forward. Just signed another 2-year contract. Came over from France's League One side. Saint-Étienne. But he's one of those guys that has the talent, has the physical profile of a forward that you want, and a forward you can play around. And again, what's impressive is he doesn't even operate as a true number 9. They normally utilize him on that kind of 7 position. Likes to operate on that left side, has that strong, powerful right foot. And yet still can do so much damage. So finally we have a breakthrough and a violent slide tackle, but just a common whistle. Aaron Long showing off the speed, the captain. As we will see a couple of substitutions checking in for LAFC in their side. Eddie Segura, the Colombian, getting set to re-enter. David Martinez is going to take a seat, along with Mark Delgado. And I'll be Nathan Ordaz to check in, one of the players that the coaching staff was bubbling over with excitement talking about yesterday. One of the players that has really stood out in camp. Igor Jesus, one of those guys as well. Mark Delgado, newly acquired. Meanwhile, for Chicago, they always talk about Brian Gutierrez, someone that's such a dynamic player. Good advancement, Bouanga, and Gutman sprinting back defensively. And perhaps another goal-saving deflection. Again, so many notable absences for Chicago. Their leading scorer, Hugo Kuiper's not in the lineup. Ren Haile Selassie, who was such an impactful player for them. The Swiss product not playing. Chris Brady, their starting goalkeeper, not playing as well. So you certainly don't want to take anything away from LAFC, but you do have to apply that caveat because we're not seeing the full picture for this Chicago Fire team. Reynolds has a clearing, or a hell. Chipped forward, brought down. Hulyut stays on his feet, and it's going back the other way. Got a little too aggressive maneuvering. I love the savviness defensively from Eddie Segura, one of 6 returning defensive backs for LAFC, locking down one of the opposing teams. Up-and-coming players, and Dean Boltz. This entire defensive rotation, one of the best in the MLS last season. You look at Ryan Hollingshead, Aaron Long, no Maxime Chanot today, who would ordinarily be a starter for LAFC. Sergi Palencia. And here's Hollingshead right on cue. Swivels it back, the volley just blocked away. sizzling shot opportunity there. Again, you take your eye off it just for 1 second. In swinger is low, not fully cleared. That was Adam Saldana, number 43, who was trailing the play. Midfielder nearly had an electric highlight in his first preseason action. As we're inside the final 20 minutes to go here in game number 4. Bawanga trying to time his run. That's a perfectly placed ball from Larice. Excellent touch, Bawanga. So shifty, and that should have been another handball in the box. Perhaps because this is preseason, ref said play on. Laid back, Bawanga cannot bend it in. But that's, again, wonderful chemistry with Abobasi. This is what they like to do, is applying pressure. They always repress and they win back possession. Driven low, Bawanga getting to the left foot, another fake. Bawanga drives it across, it's not there, and poked in on the second effort, no. Just spills wide right for Abobasi. Gall just got the fingertips to push it aside. Look at the passing. There's Bawanga, not just one dummy, two. Kept it low, it spilled out, and that was a chance off the post there for Abobasi. Outswinger. Trying to find a way to recycle it back in, and now potentially the Fire could have numbers. Played back for Larice. One positive for Chicago Fire you can peel from last season. They did collect a ton of saves. Again, part of that's a byproduct of all the duress that they were under. But they were fairly sturdy in front of the goal line with Chris Brady. Recorded 12 clean sheets as the starting keeper. Not sure exactly where Hollingshead was going with that. Rahel says thank you. They've had a couple of misgivings here. Osorio. That's a beautiful give and go with Williams. Flared for Gutman. And again, just not on the same page. Do well to win it back. Glasgow seeing a thicket of defenders, can't squeeze it in. A lot of passing, they give it away. Williams just outside of the box, knocked out of play for Chicago corner. These teams will square off once again in August, as we'll see a goalkeeping change. Jeff Gall is going to sub out. And we will see Patrick Lose out of Plainfield, Illinois, the Chicago Fire Academy product, check in for the final 15. Driven in low, cleared away. And we'll see more substitutes and changes for LAFC. Aaron Long is going to take a seat. We'll see Nkosi Tafara, number 91, sprint onto the pitch. Tillman will take a seat as well as Hollingshead. Platoon swap here down the stretch. Again, that's to be expected. Not trying to exhaust all of the starters. Again, I laid out the upcoming matches on the table for LAFC coming up. Sergio Orahel. Reynolds in Glasgow, nice overlapping combination. Glasgow sends one across, flash into the middle is Gutman, and he cannot find the back of the net. A wonderful sequence. It certainly connected. Just couldn't complete it. Yao Yaboa, by the way, number 20 for LAFC, just was subbed in, as that yank is going to give it back to Chicago. He's one of the new acquisitions from John Thorrington, MLS Sporting Executive of the Year last season. You look at all the acquisitions and the signings that he has achieved, it's quite remarkable. Being able to get Lloris, Olivier Giroud to come over. David Martinez, of course, the best teenage prospect out of the academy. And even at the LAFC 2 level, they went from missing out on the playoffs completely a year prior to qualifying for the postseason and finishing 5th in the Western Conference last season. And there's this misconception about this huge payroll that LAFC has and unlimited cash at their disposal in this blank checkbook, but that's not how they operate. They're certainly not frugal. They're a shrewd operation, business savvy ownership group, but they're not prodigal either. They do leverage LA as an incentive, as they should, and the same thing is trying to be executed by Coach Berhalter at Chicago, coming over with pedigree, of course, connections and a history of developing players, not just from his time with the national team, but the Columbus Crew as well. And it just highlights the current state of the MLS. And both coaches had interesting things to say about that very question. Coach Cherundolo, though, said something quite interesting about feels like the quality of the league in some ways is surpassing the quality of European leagues, not just in skill set, but also financially. They're starting to compete with those European clubs, and now is kind of the time to take that next step, to gain more quality, solidify the league as one of the most attractive leagues in the world. They're doing that. It's extremely competitive. We're seeing how much funding and how many resources are being poured in to this league and to teams. And again, it's not a surprise when you consider the number of ownership groups in Europe as well. looking for the same success here as that's flicked forward up ahead. Yeboah does well to keep it in play. Finds a trailer, Boanga. Boanga inching just outside the 6, whips it across. It takes a deflection. And Osorio just able to give Chicago enough breathing room. But to put a bow on that thought, both coaches did want to stress, though, keeping the focus on the quality. Want to grow rapidly, but the importance of not losing the quality along the way. Nice overlap, Boanga. No one near him, off the side of the foot. Slices it. First touch for Lorenzo Della Valle. Again, Giorgio Chiellini's protege. Missed all of last season due to a knee injury, but he led Italy's U19 U19 team to a UEFA Euro title in 2023. Was poised for a breakout season with the squad before being sidetracked by that injury, but now he's fully recovered and ready to step in, especially for a team that lost their longtime starter, Jesus Murillo, this offseason. So he's being asked to fill big shoes. Just a youngster as well, 20 years of age. Gonzalez finds an outlet, it's Bolts. Was clipped over the back. Favorably finds his feet. Now they've got a 3-on-3, an overlap with Glasgow. He's got him flanked to his right. Glasgow's gonna keep it. And was that shot deflected? No. Goal kick. Out wide for Yeboah. There's Boanga. It's almost a little surprising that he has stayed in this entire match. An excellent switch there. This could be promising. Ordaz. They didn't get the strength behind it for Ebobisse. Again, a reminder coming up at 3, lost track of the time. It's 3:11, getting going over on field number 2 is the final of our 5-game slate for day 1 of the Coachella Valley Invitational between New York City FC and Sporting Kansas City. Have a couple days of a break before day 2 of the Coachella Valley Invitational gets going on February 8th. And then Saturday, February 9th wraps up day number 3 before we head into week number 2 of this preseason showcase. Final 5 minutes to go. And that one off the post, a double doink. Boanga's there for the second effort, and it sails over. Adrian Wabowo introducing himself here in the second half. Los Angeles kid, 19 years of age, just turned 19 a couple weeks ago. Was LAFC number 2. Their top goal scorer last year. We're coming off a 10-goal season. Talk about making an entrance. A double doink off the bars. Could not clear the goal line. Again, first take forward, Ebobasi off the post again. Unlucky, 3 pipes, but no finish. They're certainly generating chances. This fan base eager for a second goal. Denied again. Have another corner. Kept short on the ground, Adam Saldana. Boanga with the left foot again. It's dangerous, a little high. Ebobasi couldn't quite climb the ladder and bring it down. Denny Boanga, the lone goal scorer on the penalty kick. Just a 1-0 game. Certainly if you're Chicago, you have to have been pleased, though, with the second half. Offensively, they created more opportunities, put a little bit more pressure on Lloris. And this back line, such a veteran and seasoned back line with a lot of chemistry. So their ability to puncture it a little bit has to feel good. Gutman had a chance, veering in the middle of the 6, right in front of face of goal with a header opportunity. Couldn't keep it, though, on frame. And meanwhile, if you're LAFC, the whole purpose of today wasn't necessarily about the outcome, but building back that fitness level. Turning to the starters, their most dependable and trustworthy players. Yeboah, Saldana, track down Nathan Ordaz. Final 50 ticks to go. Far eye. Flares it. Yeboah inside out. And that's read by Glasgow. They generate a little bit of intrigue here in the final 20 for Chicago. And the Greg Berhalter era in the Windy City. Again, a lot of starters not suiting up. But in their opening contest, LAFC takes advantage on the penalty from their leading goal scorer, Denny Boanga. And they prevail over Chicago Fire FC 1-0 in day one of the Coachella Valley Invitational. That'll do it for field number one here in Indio. For Jackson Spilsbury, Connor Pollard, Chase Neidig, and our entire Turbo Sports group, I'm Jonah Malkin saying thanks for watching. And so long from the Coachella Valley Invitational. LAFC tops Chicago Fire 1-0. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday afternoon.